Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo. So let me just share the screen. We were on chapter 4. Okay. All right.
Today's possibly the last day.
So let's see if we can wrap up chapter 4 today. So I moved back a few slides so we can kind of recall where we were. So Arjuna is asking that I find it still confusing that performing karma can free me from karma. And then we talked about the 3 kinds of karma. Good karma, which is just regular, the word karma. Then vikarma is bad karma or wrong action, which is not sanctified or authorized in the scriptures. And then akarma, which is the highest form of action, which is devotional activity, spiritual activity, which has no reaction. Hence the term akarma. Okay, so pious action is called karma, forbidden action is called vikarma, and non-action or religious or spiritual action is called akarma. Right? And the reactions for pious action, you get pious, forbidden action, you get negative, and non-action, you don't get any material reaction, you get liberation from material reaction. And then both pious and forbidden have motivation of selfishness, whereas the akarma has a motivation of loving service. Both pious and forbidden actions lead to bondage. One is a golden bondage, the other is uncomfortable bondage. And non-action leads to transcendence, liberation, freedom from material platform. Right? Arjuna says the first 2 types are not difficult. Right action, wrong action, I understand that. But what is this akarma? And then Krishna explains that inaction can exist within action, action can exist within inaction. When you become wise enough to see this, you can achieve inaction even in your worldly deeds. So we talked about that. So action and inaction are opposites. How can one exist within the other? Arjuna asks. So the key is you cast out selfish motivation from your deeds. The fire of wisdom consumes those actions. They become inaction. So wisdom is the key. The transcendental knowledge is the key. And Arjuna says, how can I give up these selfish motivations? And Krishna answers that again, remember we've talked about this theme again and again. When the satisfaction comes from within the soul, from within yourself, then you'll have no selfish ambitions left to fulfill. In such a state of mind, you never engage in worldly actions, even if you seem to be busy in so many ways. When you give up your selfish pursuits, a clear mind will come under your control. Then you will see that it is only your body doing things. You are quote unquote inactive because you're not implicated in the worldly reactions. Even though it looks like you're moving around doing everything, serving and all, but because your motivation is pure, your motivation is spiritual, you have no reactions. And Arjuna questions and he doubts. Anyone can just pretend. I don't desire anything. They say, it's merely my body doing all these things. And how do you know we are being sincere? Then this is the real test of sincerity. If you're sincerely inactive, you will be satisfied by whatever destiny provides. And thus we'll see success and failure as equal accomplishment. So anything that comes of its own accord without too much effort. Such sincere persons are never implicated in the worldliness of deeds. When your mind operates in clarity and knowledge, you will naturally abandon selfish motives. Then your work becomes a sacred sacrifice, dissolving your karmas and granting enlightenment. In the purport to this verse, Srila Prabhupada explains, what this means is that a person carries out honest labor to maintain body and soul. And then whatever comes as a result of that, he's satisfied. It's not that, he'll go to the ends of the world and completely burn out his mind and body and intelligence in trying to get richer and richer and richer and have endless ambitions. No, just simple life, high thinking, leave some time and space. So then if you're satisfied, whatever destiny provides comes without too much burning yourself out. Then you allow yourself the energy and time to pursue spiritual growth. Okay, and whatever action you are doing in your occupation, Also, make sure it's selfless, and you will naturally abandon selfish motives. Then your work itself, even the job that you do, it becomes a sacred sacrifice, because the job is supporting your body and your family's body, and you're engaging your body and family body in uplifting yourself spiritually and uplifting others and society spiritually. And so everything that supports that effort, including your job, becomes part of the transcendence circle, and it becomes part of the sacred sacrifice, because you are sacrificing. You wake up early in the morning, you sometimes commute very far, you work really hard, take on some stress. This is a sacrifice. How is it possible that worldly deeds can have spiritual effects? Generally we see them categorically different. You can't really, use one to support the other. So Krishna explains that in a sacrifice, everything is considered spiritual. All ingredients, the ghee is spiritual, the fire is spiritual, the utensil is spiritual, the priest is spiritual, and the offering is spiritual. Anything thoroughly involved in spirit becomes spiritual. See, therefore, when you spiritualize your life, then everything that you use in your life for that purpose, all those things also become spiritual, including your career, including the earnings, including how you spend them. Of course, they have to be spent in the right way toward the spiritual benefit, and so on. So the whole circle becomes spiritualized. But I'm not asking about a sacrificial ritual, I'm asking about worldly deeds, because Krishna gave the analogy of sacrifice. And Arjuna say, no, that's fine, sacrifice, I understand, it's pretty clear, because like a ritual, it's all, one package. But what about my job? When I go about as a Kshatriya defending people. And then Krishna explained, look, sacrifice is not just a ritual. That's just an example. There are many ways to make sacrifice. This is an interesting part. Sacrifice is not just one kind of thing. Some sacrifice rituals into the fire of spirituality. So these are different kind of fires. Others carefully sacrifice to the gods. Some sacrifice sense perception into the fire of restrictions. So sense perception in the fire of restrictions is the brahmacharis. Brahmacharis really control their senses. They sleep on the floor. Those they wear very simple clothes. They eat very simply. They give their whole life to. They dedicate their time to spiritual master. That is called sacrificing into the fire of restrictions. That's a kind of sacrifice. Different kinds of fires. You see, the fire is an analogy. Then others sacrifice the sense objects into the fire of the senses. So what are those? Those are householders. Householders do engage in the sense objects. They get married, they have children, then they go out buy things, then they produce, like the farmer produces things, and so there's like a lot of economic development, all that. But because all that is being used for sacrifice to the Lord, that is another sacrifice, with sacrificing the sense objects in the fire of the senses. Okay, so then we make an offering, and then after the offering is done and you eat it, you strengthen the body and all that. So because the householders are involved in that whole circle, that is called the sacrifice of sense objects in the fire of senses. And then still others, illuminated by knowledge, sacrifice all their senses and even their breath into the fire of self-control. So this is those who practice the Eightfold Yoga system. Okay, so that's the example given. All of them submit to strict vows. That is the essence of all sacrifice. So the vows. It is merely the form of the sacrifice that differs, not the substance. You see, the substance is that you're doing that whole sacrifice.
Giving up.
You're giving up something. Even as householders is giving up some things. That whole thing, because Krishna is the center, that's what makes it a sacrifice. Not the different external aspect of it. Brahmacharya is also aiming towards Krishna. Household also aims towards Krishna. Some sacrifice wealth, others austerities, others deeds, still others by studying philosophy. Some people, they just study and then they teach. Some sacrifice their very breath, arresting it by offering exhalation to the fire of inhalation, vice versa. So this is the yogic process. And others cease inhalation altogether and offer exhalation unto itself. That's another kind of yogic process. All of them understand sacrifice. All of them are purified by sacrifice, enjoy the immortal nectar resulting from it, and attain the eternal spirit. But my friend, those who don't understand sacrifice gain nothing in this world or the next. Okay, so the key is the various flavors of sacrifice. There are many, many types of sacrifices, but it only counts as genuine uplifting sacrifice if it is aimed toward Krishna, aimed toward genuine transcendence. So Arjuna asks, where are all these different sacrifices explained? And then Krishna described that in the Vedas, which is a mouthpiece of spirit, the important thing to understand is that they all involve work. Everything involves some work. You're the one who's studying and all, studying kind of work. Understand that and you will be emancipated. You know? You'll be liberated to know that all these people who are involved in type of sacrifice, they are working. So any kind of work can we sacrifice? Yes. There's so many flavors of work. There's some people are expert in this, some people are expert in that. You're contributing somehow to society. You're contributing to the upliftment of the world. So the actual aspect of it, of the work, is not so important, right? Krishna says it is the wisdom within the work which enables the selflessness, which is spiritual. The work itself is not very important. So work is a vehicle where you can enable your mind and senses and body to be spiritualized if you do it right. And doing it right means it has to be infused with the wisdom within the work. Wisdom, the transcendental knowledge. What is the transcendental knowledge? Why am I working? What is the attitude toward this work? How can I make sure it is completely selfless? Those are the different questions. One is always contemplating that and reminding oneself of that to maintain that mood and the consciousness. Then the work becomes spiritual sacrifice. Now we talked about so many various types of sacrifice. So Arjuna asks, why are there so many forms of sacrifice? Just be one or two, it's like so many. Krishna says, because there are so many different types of people. The external form of sacrifice is not very important. It is merely the catalyst to ignite the real fire of sacrifice, which is wisdom. So this is just a mechanism, again, to come to the point of wisdom. All right? So various types are there because there are different types of people. Okay, so then I'll ask, what is the best way to get wisdom? So now Krishna is going to give an explanation of his mechanism, how he has set up the world to make sure this wisdom gets transmitted and is available and is powerful enough to actually be applicable in your life. So that verse is tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. That is this. Tadvidhi pranipatena. Respect the wise people who have the true vision. Approach a spiritual master. A truly wise person. Spiritual master means someone who is truly wise, who has understood the teachings of Krishna, who has imbibed and implemented the teaching of Krishna in his or her life, and who is able to also bring you up to that platform. That is called a truly wise person. So you find that person, offer them respect, and they will impart wisdom to you. So this is Krishna's what you call authorized representative. Like sometimes the company says Sony or Panasonic, and the company itself may be headquartered in Japan, but they have authorized representatives all over the world where if you want to get your Sony product serviced, you can take it to authorized representative, because they are the ones who are connected to the original. So similarly, Krishna has sent his authorized representatives to the world, and then they have parampara systems, one after another. Evam parampara praptam. So, right, that verse was there in the beginning of this chapter. So now he's coming back to the same point that to answer Arjuna's question, how do I get wise? Krishna says that this is the mechanism, this is a method. These are the authorized system that I have established, Guru Parampara system. So how do you do it? First, find the authorized Guru. And serve and attentively inquire from all angles. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena. Pariprashnena, pari means from all angles, like perimeter. The word perimeter means from all sides. So the word peri comes from Sanskrit pari, means from all angles. Pariprashna. Prashna means question. So ask questions that are relevant, of course, try to understand the concept from every single angle. Just like Krishna is explaining some points from many angles. So you try to also understand all the different angles, attentively inquire, and sevaya. Sevaya is also important. You see, sometimes you might think, what's the point of doing seva to the teacher? Just learn and just maybe pay them something or whatever. But that's not the point. You must serve because the humility and the sense of service is what causes that knowledge to be established in the heart, not just the academic aspect of it. Service is a mechanism. When you please the spiritual master, then by the blessing of the spiritual master, the knowledge becomes realized knowledge. So this is Krishna's mechanism. Okay? Very important point, this one. What will I see when I gain wisdom from those who have it? So once you actually become realized, after following a guru, you'll see that all living beings are within the Supreme Soul, and that you are also within me. You will see that I'm everywhere and you're within me. Seeing this, you will never again fall into confusion. You will see me connecting everything. You will see me in your heart. You'll see me in the hearts of all the other living entities. Basically, you will feel my presence everywhere because you have become fully realized. And your actions will reflect that realization. And this only happened when you have served a spiritual master and you have received the blessings and you've received the learnings and so on. This is a mechanism. Arjuna asks, but I am a very wicked person. I'm a warrior who kills people. Can I even hope to attain this spiritual vision? So like a very high goal, you know what you're saying, Krishna. And then Krishna explains wisdom, which is transcendental knowledge, is a boat that will carry even the heaviest of the heinously wicked across the ocean of misery. Krishna didn't say what you're doing is not wicked. He said, no, he said, yes, it is a pretty gross thing that you have to do. You have to do it. I'm telling you to do it. But this boat of transcendental knowledge can carry you across the ocean of the misery that is associated with some of these heavy duties that we have to do. Wisdom is a raging fire that burns wickedness to ash as if it were dry wood. Nothing in this world could possibly be as purifying as wisdom or transcendental knowledge. Follow the yoga of sacrifice to its final end, and you will eventually enjoy this wisdom within your own soul. So he's saying, keep working, okay? Do the honest labor. Infuse it, saturate it with transcendental knowledge. What is the transcendental knowledge? That you're doing it for me, and you are the eternal soul. Nothing can happen to you. You cannot kill. You cannot cause someone to kill. You're just doing your duty because that's a system of set up. Okay? Remember me all the time as you're doing it. And if you have infused your actions with knowledge, then what happens? Pretty much every action that we do has some kind of reaction and has some level of wickedness associated with it. A little bit or a lot. It's just the nature of the work. And even if you go on the road, you will crush some insects, you get some reaction for it. You don't want to kill the insects, but that's just the way it is. Even if you don't use a car, you walk, you'll get it. Anything we do will have some wickedness, some reaction. But because we are doing it and we have made our life a goal, Krishna, and our actions aim to please Krishna, there becomes a transcendental sacrifice. The work and our consciousness is infused with transcendental knowledge, this wisdom. Then the work itself will purify us. And we do it as a sacrifice to the final end, and we'll enjoy the wisdom within the soul. And that wisdom increases as we work. And Krishna will explain in 10th chapter how he does that and to what degree he does that. So that'll come a little bit later, but this is the point here he's making. Now Arjuna asks, but am I qualified to follow this yoga to its perfection? I mean, this is like, pretty high standard you're setting. What about me? What is my qualification? It seems like, only a few people can do this. And Krishna says, prioritize. That's all. Just prioritize it. Make it more important than anything else, and therefore curtail all other endeavors. See, when we prioritize something, then gradually the prioritization, making it important in our life, will make us qualified for it. Trust that it will be worth it. For when you attain wisdom, you will very quickly attain the supreme peace. Krishna is saying that you put it in your life, start implementing it. Just by that dint of making the effort, you're qualified. Because you can start at any level. And then have faith that the process itself will be worth it. Minimize your energies in distractive endeavors. Right? It says curtail all other endeavors. Basically, only do things that are going to improve you spiritually. If there are things that are you don't need to do, and they're slowing you down spiritually, give those up. This is what it means to prioritize. It means make time for this. In order to make time for this, you might have to give something up that is a waste of time. Trust that will be worth it. When you attain wisdom, you will very quickly attain the supreme peace. And when you're peaceful, you'll be happy in all circumstances. Ashantasya kutah sukham. Another point, don't doubt this. These doubts, when you don't have enough conviction, they'll ruin your future. Don't doubt it. Have a strong faith. Fools who have no conviction in the valley of wisdom are ruined by their own doubts. Such bewildered people find no happiness here or hereafter. Even here, they're feeling confused. They'll never achieve anything really. And the next life also, because they didn't make any spiritual progress. So doubts have to be removed quickly. But a person who cuts through the bondage of doubts with knowledge can follow this yoga to its perfection, successfully renouncing all selfish action. Then karma cannot bind him, Arjuna, for he is situated in his soul. So this point of removal of doubts, it's not that we should have no doubts. Doubting is a sign of intelligence, Prabhupada explains. But there's also such thing as over-intelligence, isn't it? Some people they're just too over-smart and they just, it's almost like they're challenging it. Yeah, but I doubt it. Even though you told me this, I doubt it. If you don't even take the very first step, then you'll be stuck in the mud of doubt. Doubt is good because it makes you ask the right questions, and then once you learn and you settle in, at least initially, you remove your doubts quickly and start on the process. Then as the process starts, more doubts will come up, but because the process itself is powerful, and the process itself starts answering some of those questions, the doubts get removed quickly. But if you've weighed yourself down with so much doubt, you don't even start the process, then this is what Krishna is talking about, right? They have no conviction, they're just so doubtful. Sometimes you find even kids in school, right from the beginning. Okay, teacher says, write A like this, B like this. Before you even gets to see the student will ask, why write this way? Why can't I write A the other way? It's very annoying. At least give 5 minutes first. Let me teach you the alphabet. Okay, just take it for what it is. Then you try it out, see how it works for you. So this is what Krishna is talking about. Don't be so annoying. First, give it some time, give it a chance, and then apply doubts over and over. And keep applying them and slashing them. This way, what happens, intelligence gets satisfied. Okay, so we're wrapping up the chapter now. Therefore, grasp the weapon of transcendental knowledge, this wisdom, and slice through the doubts born of ignorance that have crowded your heart. On the strength of this wisdom, arise and stand firm, Arjuna. So Krishna uses, of course, terminology that Arjuna can relate to. Grasp the weapon, slice through, And so he's saying, now wake up. Your doubts are coming up, that's fine, no problem. But you have to cut them down, otherwise they will weigh you down. Right? It's the end of chapter 4. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Haribol.
Oh, wow. We made it.
Falastuti.
Okay.
There is always a falastuti at the end of the chapter.
So, is there any questions or comments? Anything that can you still
one question that I have is, why was yoga listed as one of the pictures in the sacrifice? There's a person doing yoga.
Yeah. So the pranayama system is considered one of the sacrifices. And this eightfold yoga system, that Krishna will describe that in 6th chapter. So that's why sacrifices come in many flavors. One of them includes the yoga process.
Practice.
The Ashtanga yoga, eightfold yoga system. Yam, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam. So he's just giving the different options that people do. Some of these options don't really apply in Kali Yuga, but he's just giving the example.
Thanks. Yep, that is interesting.
Okay. So there's always this, I have a quick question. There's always this regarding the knowledge, receiving the knowledge and destroying the ignorance through receiving the knowledge properly, and how nicely Krishna explained to Arjuna how to receive the knowledge. in the disciplic succession and in the humble mood of a receiver. And I remember in the last slide or so, you were mentioning that, when we are receiving the knowledge, doubting is okay, it's good, it's a sign of intelligence. But when we go overboard with it,
Overboard with
over with the doubts, okay, so then there is doubt, then there's a reason for it, and that reason is explained. And then when a person has the tendency to cross it, and then when it comes to a point where, okay, but I think, Prabhuji, that this should not happen, and that is not according to what I think it should not happen. So my question is, how far should we and could we entertain that notion of crossing and doubting again without the person letting the knowledge sink in?
Yeah, so there's a whole category. In fact, I opened a purport and it's very interesting. We can probably take a look at this purport. Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that persons who almost like animals have no faith in or knowledge of the standard revealed scriptures. And some, even though they have knowledge of, even they can memorize passages, the revealed scriptures, they have no faith in these words. Even though others may have faith in scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, they do not believe in or worship the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. Such persons cannot have any standing in Krishna consciousness. They fall down. Out of all the above mentioned persons, those who have no faith and are always doubtful make no progress at all. Men without faith in God and His revealed word find no good in this world, nor in the next. For them, there is no happiness whatsoever. I mean, this Prabhupada is explaining. You will find some people who are so adamant. They will even come in and engage in the discussion just to show, either try to prove there is no God, or try to disturb the environment, or just be an annoyance that no, this just cannot be true. This cannot be true. This cannot be true. So this category like that. And Prabhupada mentions that in the purport. For them, they're not happy right now because they're very confusing, and they cannot find happiness later because they cannot take the first step in tasting the honey, the nectar of the holy name of the Lord.
Which verse?
So this is chapter 4, verse number 40. It's towards the end only. The last couple of verses, right? So one should therefore follow the principle of revealed scripture with faith and thereby be raised to the platform of knowledge. Now, if you recall, when we were in chapter 2, text number 41, in the purport to that text, Prabhupada explains what is faith. And he explains that with the use of the word intelligence. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana bahushakha hirantascha buddha vyavasayinam, which means that this path requires one-pointed intelligence. Vyavasayatmika buddhi. And in the purport, Prabhupada explains that a strong faith that by becoming Krishna conscious, all other things in life will get taken care of. You won't lose out on other things. Strong faith that everything, and he quotes Chaitanya Charitamrita, Shraddha Shabde, Vishwasa Kahe, Shuddha Dridha Nishchoy, Krishna Bhakti Kaile, Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. So that means that when person has developed strong faith that I won't miss out on something, then that is called Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. See, he doesn't doubt. He doesn't feel that he will completely lose in career, he'll fear of missing out. He'll lose career, he'll lose money, he'll lose social standing among his cool friends. He'll not be seen as cool at all. Why should I wear now some other Indian style clothes, or why should I go temple? All these things, they get so full of doubts. Why should I put on tilak? Why should I bow down to anybody, to the Lord? So these doubts, they happen.
So we can say in a very simple language that for us to acquire this knowledge, we have to receive it and let it sink in a little bit, practice on it. And then maybe we feel, and if then there is question and concern, maybe we can address that.
Yeah. So
From
starting.
from a, like how you said, guru and shiksha.
Yes. Yes. So that is the exact system. That is the process. Is that you learn the basics and give the process a try. You have to go for the lecture, and then you also go for the lab, right? In chemistry, you have the class, the lecture and the lab. Now, if the guy is saying, I doubt so much the lecture, I'm not even going to step in the lab, that person is not going to get a chemistry degree. Right from day one, the professor, if you tell the professor, look, first of all, I don't think 99% of things you're saying are correct. The only thing correct you have put on the board is the date, today's date. That's it, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. And lab, don't even ask me to come to the lab, forget it. Then why are you coming to the university? You go make some baskets or something. Why are you coming over here? So there'll always be one or two people like that. And this point is about them, that if they are not going to bother to try to even not enter the lab, give it a try to see the chemistry working, to understand the lecture a little more. So you get, in 1 week, you get 3 lectures and 1 chemistry lab. The next week, another 3 lectures and then lab. So there's more lab, more chemistry. By the time you're done with the semester, you have become quite expert. At the end of the semester, you'll know how to handle the lab properly. You'll know how to answer the exam properly. You know how those things connect. And you can then, and after you've got a chemical engineering degree, you can actually go into industry and apply those skills and manufacture amazing things. You actually use it. So similarly, spiritual knowledge is like that. You have to have a process. You learn the theory, you apply it, learn the theory, apply it, and then put it in your life. And at the end, you'll become expert spiritualist, where you can even, if you get a PhD in chemistry, you can even help other people do that. If not PhD, at least you can be a good example on how to apply chemistry in your life. So you have to always do that. Any other comments or questions? This is a fairly straightforward chapter. Chapter 4 is not too difficult to understand. It's not like too complicated. Some good memorization verses, yada yada hi dharmasya, right? So you remember in the beginning. So the beginning of the chapter, Krishna gives a history of the science, right? He spoke to the sun god, and then sun god spoke to, right? So Rivashan, who was the sun god, spoke to Manu, who was the father of mankind. Manu spoke to his son Ikshvaku, who was the forefather of Lord Ram. So Surya Vansh is there. And then as time went by, this knowledge got lost. And Arjuna asks, okay, but how is it that you're so young and now sun god is so much older? There's no way you could have told him. He said, no. You don't remember those things. You're also that old only as me. It's just the difference between you and me is I remember, you don't remember. That's the key difference. Your memory keeps getting wiped out, mine does not, because my body
Plus
is
Krishna never ages, right?
I never age and my body never really changes. And so that's the reason. But this effect of time, things get degraded. That's how we measure time. Time is measured by degradation, right? You see my face now, and then you see my face 20 years from now. You can see time has passed because the face has degraded. White hairs are coming out, hairs are gone from here, new hairs are coming out from here. The ones that are coming out from here are white, and so it's like you can see the degradation. Time has a degrading effect. So part of the degradation is a loss of this knowledge. It gets degraded and corrupted. So Krishna comes yuge. Dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge. Yuga after yuga, I come and re-establish its knowledge, I re-establish dharma, I give a hug to all my devotees, paritranaya sadhunam, and I kill the villains, vinashaya chaduskritam, like that. So this is what I do. My body does not deteriorate. And then he goes on, and then he says, but see, you understand my karma, these are my karmas. Once you understand my karmas, like my karmas are very divine and transcendental. Once you understand the true nature of me and my karmas and my birth, janmas, you will be freed from your cycle of janmas and karmas. That is how cool I am. You just need to know about my janma and karma, and that will free you from your janmas and karmas. That's the verse that you have to memorize. Janma karma chame divyam. You know how transcendental they are? Then tyaktva deham, when you give up your deha, punarjanma naiti, you will not have punarjanma. You see? Then another place, Krishna says this, what I'm doing here, this, what karmas I do, they don't affect me, like they don't stick to me. In the sense, because my karmas are transcendental, my actions. they don't stick to me. If you realize that part of it, then your karmas won't stick to you also.
Did we do that Brahma Bhuta Kalpita? That verse didn't come yet, right?
Namcha Yoga Vicharina Bhakti.
Yogena
I think that's fifth
Sevati.
chapter. I think that's
Okay,
fifth
next
chapter.
chapter.
Yeah, I think
It's
so.
coming
Yeah.
up.
So
Beautiful
that
chapters
is
are
chapter
coming up.
4. Next one is chapter 5. So we'll get started on that one on Thursday. Right now we can wrap up and have a little bit of kirtan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any verse?
Any other?
Any homework? Anything that
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good question. So homework. Chapter 5 is actually a very short chapter, by the way. You know?
Yeah. 22
So
verses.
it won't take us that long to get through.
20, how
you know?
many? 22 verses?
Yeah. So in chapter 5, yeah, I have to find a verse. I'll assign a verse.
10, 5, 10, one person do it.
Anyway, we'll figure that out.
Question.
Yes, go ahead.
So you remind me actually about the semester. So I was thinking like you have an exam for this one, right? The certification for Gita.
Sorry, you want you're mentioning what exam for this? What we covered?
Right. So there will be a certification exam where we'll be certified and get a certificate.
For this course?
For this course, we haven't really set up an exam as such. This is just like an auditing course where you just come and listen and you memorize the verses as I gave you the homework.
Oh.
This is just to get you familiar with it. But yes, the ultimate aim of this course, once you start doing in the class, the temple and all, is to give exams and give certification. I created a course called Bhakti Pravesh that had a test at the end.
That course is good to do.
That's an intro course, and we actually give out certificates to all the members. That is a precursor to the bigger course called Bhakti Shastri.
Okay.
This particular course, Bhagavad Gita Super Simplified, is just for us to have an overview understanding of the Bhagavad Gita. It is not an in-depth understanding. You can see how quickly we are moving, right? Otherwise, to cover chapter 4, we only did it in 3 sessions, but generally it takes 10 sessions. We're not doing that level of depth. We're moving quickly so we can keep a general thread of the ideas. Then once we're done with it, we'll have a fairly good idea of what Krishna has been trying to say. And we'll memorize a few key ones. So the homework, if you make a note and we'll send it down, is chapter 5, verse number 18. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Kavihasana. This is the one verse in chapter 5 that I hope that you can memorize. I think you will like it. And you can also memorize the translation. So chapter 5, verse number 18. Okay, that's your homework. All right.
Krishna Prabhuji, like how is everybody reading? As we are doing these sessions, it's good to be reading at the same pace, but I'm struggling actually. I'm still on chapter 3 in terms of my book. I find myself, it takes me so long to read it. Like, how is everybody reading like so quickly?
There are not that many verses. Chapter 3 is like 40 verses or something like that. You can actually read the whole chapter in half an hour. If you don't read the purports, chapter 3, chapter 4.
So you're reading only the verse,
Yeah.
the explanation, the translation, that explanation that is given, not the details which is followed below.
Generally, if you just read the verses, you will get a good gist of what we are covering. Because I'm not going into the purports. I'm not going into the purports in this course so much. I mention them every now and then for clarification, but I'm not going so deep into the purport. So this course is just about the translations. However, if you want to understand deeper as you read, I strongly recommend you make some time. Remember Krishna mentioned, right, in chapter 4, prioritize. Make some time to read.
And I am, but my problem is like if I read one verse, I'll be reading through the details and I'll be lost. Okay, I'll if I go back the next day and I try and read it, it looks like I'm reading it for the first time sometimes.
So Padma, this is a very common, and in Bhagavad Gita, you really have to read it again and again and again and again. That's why devotees, even amongst us who have been knowing about it, have read it again and again and again and again and again.
Okay, thank God that's normal, right? So I was thinking, like, is my memory, like, do I have like memory loss? I was thinking like that last week. Like, I think I read several pages again, and I realized after that, okay, I have read this before.
Yeah, so that's why reading from your part, that's a must. And then understanding along with the devotees is a super must. Because on your own, you will read and lose the concept. Because there
Right.
will be the nature of human, the three modes of nature, the karma, the laws, how Krishna distinguishes and he breaks it down for Arjuna. In this course, we have very easily simplified, but on your own
Right.
go, it will take probably a very long time for us to dissect it in such a manner. That's why reading again and again, it's wonderful, but also understanding along with the devotee.
Right.
And
This session is like very easy to understand and remember. Like whatever we are doing over the calls is very easy to understand and remember. But the book, I'm like, little bit, it is not that easy.
Yeah,
Like
that
to
is
try to apply these right examples and understand it in that context. I feel these discussions are helpful, but the only problem is I'm not at that pace. Like I'm not able to maintain that pace. Like we are moving to chapter 5. I still have like so much to read on the book.
you don't need to worry about it, which is why maybe if try not to get bogged down too much. If you didn't understand a verse, just keep reading, and that's it.
I have a, let's unmute everybody. We have a lot of, at least few that I know who are reading Bhagavad Gita on their own in their home. Anybody have any input on this? Please
I know Lakshmi
unmute
Mataji.
and jump in.
Yeah.
Minash has
I, I,
Hi.
I've been reading, and what I've been doing, I go back to Prabhuji's slides. I read the slides again. I find that helps me. And and then I try to find, once I read the slides, I try to find the verse in the book, and I try to understand, like that way.
There's a little secret in my slides. If you haven't noticed, if you look at my slides, let me just share this again. So if you look in the slides, right, at the bottom of each slide, you will see a little number. You see that 39? You see, the previous slide. Let me see. This one's 36, 35, like that.
left hand side bottom.
Maybe what I'll do is, okay, hold on. Let's share screen. So my point is that at the bottom of each bottom left corner of each slide, I have the number you see there corresponds. It's not a page number that corresponds to the verse number. The chapter. So you can kind of line it up and see. Prabhupada said it this way. How does the slide say it? Remember, this is super simplified Bhagavad Gita. It is not Bhagavad Gita from Srila Prabhupada's translation, because that is a little hard to follow. So I've put it in much, we have this simpler version of
based on Acharya's books.
Based,
which Acharya you should mention?
Yeah, different Acharyas. This is, some devotees have put this together, but basically these commentaries are based on Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who is one of the Acharyas in the line. Prabhupada's purpose are based on his commentary. Baladev Vidya Bhushan and Srila Prabhupada's purports themselves also. So I've used different things combining and to simplify and to basically to give the essence of the message. And we put in some questions between verses, like Arjuna asked some of these questions to kind of help you bridge the point between one verse and the other. In the Gita, you won't find all these questions. These questions were interpolated by the Acharyas to help us carry over the ideas, connect the ideas.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've read through the entire book, and I completely agree with you. The first time when I started reading it, I was like, okay, I've read the whole chapter, but what is the gist of it, and what did I carry away with me from that first chapter or second chapter? But after rereading it once or listening to a clip on YouTube, which is very specific to that verse or two, which you think it resonates in your mind, is the best way to follow through. And I completely agree. It's going to take more than multiple reading.
You also be careful. There is all kinds of things out there. So you have
Oh
to
yeah,
be careful where you're collecting your material from, because it'll be
oh yeah. I just read like one. Otherwise, I usually just read through the book, because reading through the book, listening to the videos never. It takes hours to do it. So I mean, first reading is, I usually read it the light way. Then the second one is the in-depth, go slow one by one, and then go about reading through it. And then I assign like a time frame, that this is the specific time frame I'll allocate for it on a given day.
Yeah.
And that's how I've gone about doing it.
Yeah, some people read a little bit every day. Some people assign one day and a certain time to read more, say an hour or something. So you have to find your pace, what works for you. But don't give up on this, because when I first read Bhagavad Gita, I didn't understand anything. When I read second time, I didn't understand anything also. Only fifth time, I started understanding a little bit. So it takes a lot of readings to go through this. And then you hear also lectures, Srila Prabhupada. I strongly recommend you hear Prabhupada lectures available on YouTube. Hear Prabhupada's lectures. They're so easy to understand. And then you'll understand what Prabhupada means in the purports, start putting together. But it's a lot of information. To try to make sense about Gita does require a lot of time.
So
Oh yeah,
Prabhuji, like,
and many a times it's like a circular discussion which goes around in multiple chapters, and it leads to the same conclusion as to it's all, between the two conversations, it's the same convoluted thought process which goes on for a while, and then you have to dissect it accordingly, that which one is more suited for your present situation.
Yeah. Vijay Mata, you had a point?
yes. So Prabhuji, like in today's lecture, there was one point where you said in the slide that prioritizing and giving up there was something like you have to prioritize and give up the distractions.
Yes.
Then, so like when Minash Prabhu said that niyam, like, doing certain amount of time every day, devoting that to reading. So this is one thing that I think I should do. I have not been able to do it on a daily basis, but this will certainly help. Like if we could keep even half an hour, then maybe for the first 15 days it might not work to just set it into our subconscious, but it will definitely set it into our subconscious, and then maybe the next 15 days will be more fruitful in terms of gaining. And also one more thing that I find is that somehow for me, if I'm reading, I'm not gaining so much, because sometimes it doesn't set the context right for a particular verse. So like if I listen to if you're discussing today something, I will remember what I might have read, but it might not have strung the same, it might not have resonated the same way, but today you might have set the context for me. So reading it, hearing it again and again from, maybe you can say, the verified sources, might set the, like the from the good sources will help you build a strong foundation. And also like making notes, I never go back to my own notes, but I feel if you're telling me something and I write down those words, that activity of writing down will make me retain it more. I, even though I might not go back to it, but it will psychologically give me the confidence that I have retained it in a better way.
Absolutely. It's true. Very good points. Timing, regular, even if you don't feel like do it daily, and take notes. Those activities really, really are very powerful. They're very powerful in helping us.
points.
Excellent. Thank you.
Everybody understood.
Anyone else have any final questions?
So I mean, so let me ask you this question now, since I think Vijay Shri Mataji mentioned verified source, and you also mentioned lots of material out there. So which if you had to refer it, I mean, which are the short clips that you would recommend reviewed? Again, the reason I'm emphasizing the word short is, I mean, yeah, there are great videos or clippings which can go for hours on a particular chapter, or like in short, you can get the gist of it and then continue reading with it. It's like listening is one thing, reading and absorbing and then applying it is a whole different process after that. So if you had to recommend few, which one would you recommend?
Yeah, so I'm not aware of any short clips, 2-minute clips on Bhagavad Gita.
On a sloka rather, let me rephrase it then.
even shlokas, generally, I'm not aware of any short clips. There are clips out there, there are videos out there that help you memorize the verses. What I would recommend is stick to those. If you want to see, like for example, Prabhupada's lectures, they're generally quite short. Prabhupada lectures are typically no longer than 20 minutes. They're fairly
Listen to Srila Prabhupada's lectures.
So that's what I would first advise first. It's not very long chapters. I mean, his very long lectures. They're very memorable and they're fairly easy to follow. So that's the short clip that I would recommend. If you start looking for other clips, it'll be hard to find. Then if somebody who's unauthorized is making clips and he's saying clips on Bhagavad Gita, we don't know where that is coming from. Unauthorized means like someone maybe not in Prabhupada's line, not in the parampara system, and all kinds of stuff like that. All kinds of crazy stuff. So we should stick with accept no imitations. It has to have the proper authorized. So there are some devotees that I would recommend.
But if you hear Srila Prabhupada, that is your foundation.
Yeah.
Once you hear Prabhupada, then it solidifies, even if he's talking about one verse. Because Prabhupada is the fundamental founder Acharya. And his each and every word is very simple, very understandable. And whoever in the world, in ISKCON world, will talk about only on the base. So if we were to give you something, we would encourage you to hear Prabhupada first. Then everybody else. Because if you don't know Prabhupada, if you have not heard Prabhupada, listen somebody for some days and then another attractive person may come. But foundation needs to be placed in first. So please make an effort to hear Prabhupada's 20 minutes lecture, and they are the juiciest one. You feel like your own family member is talking to you.
Let's start with that for now. Stick with Prabhupada. There's plenty of material. Prabhupada has 700 lectures. I'm sure that'll be enough for you to last you some time. Okay, good. All right, we'll start out.
Is there any place that they're all condensed in one, website, or which?
Prabhupada's lectures.
Because I've been listening to his, but I've been finding them like here and there and here and there, but I couldn't,
Into that, and I'll get back to everyone. There are places, there are collections of Prabhupada lectures where you can download all of them in one shot as MP3s.
Good.
In all of them you can listen to or put them on your phone, and then they're organized by lecture topic.
Just go with the mentality that your own father, your own mother or grandmother is talking to you, is telling you, teaching you, and you'll relish it so much for life.
Yeah. This actually is not very well organized. So this is a better one right here.
We can provide the link.
Actually, these are just bhajans though. Let me see if it has all the lectures.
Oh, yes, so there's not a single playlist created for it in a sequential order.
That's still okay, because you'll find
He
dissects.
They're there? Oh, okay.
There are playlists also available by Bhagavad Gita. Here it is. These are nice because it has the lecture and a transcription also. So it comes with the document you can read along while you're listening. Okay. So this is what I can hear. This is prabhupadvani.org. If you just open this one, there you go. Okay. So these are transcriptions and these are lectures. So what I'll do here.
And when you speak to some, like when you have a chance to interact with your friends, colleagues, your neighbors, whoever you know, and when you talk about it, and also when you talk about to another devotee and you hear Prabhupada's lecture and then you quote Prabhupada that Prabhupada said here, then everybody else in the world will be able to connect it. You see?
Because standard
because that's a standard, that's a textbook.
So I've put in the chat box, if you can see the chat box, I've put in the link for prabhupadvani.org. You just make a note of it, prabhupadavani.org. And in there you'll find the audio section and the Bhagavad Gita lectures, Bhagavatam lectures, everything is there. Not only lectures audio, but also the transcriptions, so you can read along also. So it's pretty well organized. You can download and play on your devices. So you can listen just on the computer, whatever works for you.
Yeah, easy.
That's just easy because you don't have to manage the downloaded file. Just go on the computer, press play, or iPod, even you can open this site on your phone and just play it from there. So you don't need to download and manage anything. All right.
Cool. Thank you.
Good.
Yep.
Thank you very much. All right. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Govardhana, Hari Bol. Thank you all very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Really interesting. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Vidyashi Mataji.
Oh, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Shama, thank you for joining. Afghan Prabhu. So thank you for joining, and we will start again to start chapter 5 on Thursday. All right, and then 518 is the one you want to memorize. It's very easy verse to memorize, has a lot of meaning, a lot of depth.
Okay. Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Harin Arjun. Bye, Advait. Bye. Haribol.